U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warning this week that France and other countries pushing to recognize a Palestinian state could trigger an Israeli response, which could include extending its sovereignty into the areas known as Judea and Samaria, known internationally as the West Bank. Speaking in Ecuador, Rubio said the move by Paris and its allies has only emboldened Hamas and made any Gaza ceasefire harder to reach. The comments come as French President Emmanuel Macron prepares to formally recognize a Palestinian state at the UN later this month, despite strong objections from Israel and its allies like the United States. Chris Mitchell, Middle East Bureau Chief for CBN News, joins me now from Jerusalem to discuss the implications of European leaders' attempts to recognize a Palestinian state. Chris, welcome back to This Week on Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you again, Tony.
So what do you make of Senator or Secretary of State Rubio's comments regarding a Palestinian state being recognized, giving fuel to the sovereignty over Judea and Samaria?
Yeah, a couple of things going on here, Tony. First of all, it does give fuel to the sovereignty movement over here in Israel. The Knesset recently voted a non-binding resolution that they should declare sovereignty over the biblical heartland of Israel, Judea and Samaria, as you said, known as the West Bank, and also the Jordan Valley. So it gives fuel to that. It also, Rubio said, what it does is embolden Hamas, because the very same day that France said that they would declare a Palestinian state, Hamas came away from the negotiating table. The feeling was, why go ahead and negotiate if France and other countries are going to sort of give a reward for what Hamas did on October 7th. So these two loggerheads, I would say, sovereignty movement, and also one thing complicating the fact was there was supposed to be sovereignty discussed yesterday at a cabinet meeting here in Jerusalem, but the UAE came in and said declaring sovereignty would be a red line for them, and it would threaten the Abraham Accords, 5 years in the running right now. And so that complicates the situation for declaring sovereignty. But I would say these two loggerheads, on the one hand, declaring a Palestinian state, on the other hand, declaring sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, are two opposing forces right now here in Israel and the Middle East.
So, Chris, let's play the scenario out as the UK has now said that unless there's a ceasefire and this humanitarian issue is addressed, they're going to support the creation of the Palestinian state or recognition of the Palestinian state. So what happens as they gather here in the UN and they make this move and call for a recognition of a Palestinian state? Will that fuel movement there in Jerusalem for the exercise of sovereignty over the historical biblical land of Judea and Samaria?
I think it's going to fuel, that element in the Knesset, that element here in Israel to go ahead and declare sovereignty over the biblical heartland. On the other hand, I would say yesterday, Tony, we CBN News interviewed our good friend, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. He believes this is sort of nonsensical for many of these countries, including France, the UK, Canada, Australia, even Belgium just chiming in a day or two ago, and that they're going to actually declare a Palestinian state. And what would that mean? One thing you have to ask yourself is, what will a declaration of a Palestinian state do after nearly 30 years of trying to form a Palestinian state, ever going back to the 1993 Oslo Accords, and even before that, you could go back to 1947, where Palestinians mainly have rejected, a kind of Palestinian state alongside Israel. So it remains to be seen exactly what this will mean when they have their conference on September 22nd, when they declare what they say will be a Palestinian state.
I mean, it seems to me that is a position very difficult to defend, given what happened on October the 7th in Gaza, coming out of Gaza, which is in effect de facto a two-state approach that we've seen over the last almost 2 decades there in Israel.
Exactly, and that's exactly what Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said to a Belgium daily this week. He said, Gaza was, in effect, a de facto Palestinian state ever since 2005, when Israel unilaterally pulled out of the Gaza Strip. 2007 is when Hamas took over. Well, for about 17 years, they basically had formed the largest terror base in the world and threatened to have a genocide on Israel on October 7th, and then pledged they would do it again and again and again. So what would that Palestinian state look like? Would it look like Gaza again? And you have to realize that many of the polls coming out of Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, for many of the Palestinian population, show overwhelming support for Hamas and its ideology. So what actually are France and these other countries trying to form? And you have to ask yourself, what would that Palestinian state look like if we've seen that play out in Gaza for about 17 years?
Chris Mitchell, just about a minute and a half left. Let's talk Gaza. The Israeli IDF moving further into taking control of Gaza City. How close are we to seeing a resolution there?
Well, it seems closer than we thought. Just today that the IDF has come out and said they control 40% of Gaza City, and that surprised a lot of people how far they've made inroads. Right now, they're trying to get as many of the Gazans inside Gaza City out of harm's way, providing for them humanitarian aid, tents, food, and shelter down south, and trying to eliminate them as human shields that Hamas uses them for. In fact, the Hamas is actually preventing some of these people to getting out of harm's way. So that's what's happening. Perhaps it'll come even sooner than people think, and hopefully people are praying for a quick resolution and the release of all the hostages.
30 seconds left, Chris. How strong is the governing coalition there under Benjamin Netanyahu? Is it holding together?
It's holding together so far, Tony, and it seems like it may hold until either the end of this military operation, but it is tenuous, and it's a very fragile coalition to some extent, but elections will be coming up early next year.
Chris Mitchell, always great to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for taking time to join us from Jerusalem.
Great to be with you, Tony.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.